We're looking at some subscriber photography and research that was done over the weekend.
Okay.
And so what we got here is, this is a new camera that we discovered, a new web camera, airportview.net, and it's Poncha Pass, and check this out. Have you ever seen a lens flare do that?
No.
Just odd, isn't it?
Well, it's quite revealing.
It goes with that kind of the, when you got the kind of the rose petals behind the cloud video that you showed us earlier.
You know, I'm convinced. Let me just say something about Colorado. We're in a zone right now. I mean, I was telling you earlier, we get to see the International Space Station quite regularly because, you know, for satellite communications, we're right in what they call the heart of the footprint. And what I find interesting, though, Steve, is that it seems to be making more and more regular passes over us, like twice a day now. And we are getting some of the strangest atmospheric phenomenons. Listen, and our viewers know this. Many of them have emailed me personally because they live right around my area here. We have people that live literally just right down the road from me, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, Grand Junction. Look at this, Steve. Look at that. Now, are you going to tell me that that's a lens flare?
That I don't believe is a lens flare because it travels with the sun.
And where are we at on this?
This one is from Brush. Again, this is one of those Colorado cams.
And, you know, we have ended our winter here. We're expecting highs again this week in the 70s. Last Friday, we broke an all-time record high, Steve. Never been recorded, 82 degrees. That is over 40 degrees above normal, Steve.
Yeah, we do have some unusual heat right now.
We do.
And that one's got me going enough that I want to think. I think I want to put it into this for just a second, if you don't mind.
No, long-term viewers don't have any problem. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm. Because I just think that footage from here was just really compelling.
And go back to our video again in Kenya. I mean, because
yeah, I'm pulling it into this
cool
program here so that we can play with it. All right, now we have a driver's seat to be in here together. Now you're seeing how we do research together, everybody. Isn't it exciting?
It is. It's compelling.
It is really compelling. All right, so there you go. Let's get up to here. What do you think, boss?
Well, yeah, I'm not. In my estimation, it's just my opinion. I think that we're actually tracking something.
It's even a different color. And they're chemtrailing the bejeebers out of this area. That just makes it even more suspicious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing about it is, Steve, is that most of us are laymen. I am. That, you know, when we start seeing the photographic evidence, number one, you have to approach it with skepticism. That's just how good researchers do. And I don't care if you're writing, doing research in atmospheric phenomenon. Look at that.
Good eye, such a crisp edge.
Look at the chemtrails, folks. Or writing a business plan. You're going to go through the same processes. Don't tell me that those chemtrails aren't laden with crap. Excuse me.
Isn't this crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a real good one. I think that's a good capture. I think we got something there, man.
Look at that. Oh, yeah, go back, and that is excellent, buddy.
Well, there you go, man. That's another thing that we put into the workups for today. So that was our workup. That was our workup photograph. Let me.
Leave your comments below.
Yeah, your comments below. And then we've got one of these photographs that came in today. And the problem with this one is that it's from the San Francisco Bay Area, and it shows that large orb in the sky, Wayne. You see that?
Yep.
Now, that could just be, I don't know. I've seen it in so many different places, but I've never seen it in San Francisco before. That's the other thing.
Well, I think that the western part of the northern hemisphere is definitely, now, all I got to say is far out.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? This is from Pikes Peak 2 days ago, a couple days ago.
But it's the same time when, you know, I was recording up here in Denver, and look where they had it. They had even more so. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I love Pikes Peak, so everybody gets a good look at Pikes Peak today.
Yeah, and you can see the barrenness of the snow up there.
Now, this one is odd just because look at how the sun is setting, and then you've got this almost like an orb cloud around the sun. Isn't that weird?
Again, is it just atmospheric aberrations, or are we ignoring, you know, hard evidence of something much more?
Doesn't that look like it's coming off an object as the light goes out?
Yeah.
You know, when you play with exposure, what it should do is it should just, oh wow, it just looks like the sun's projecting on something, doesn't it? Up there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, Wayne?
Well, you know, if you were to take into a room and had a flashlight, right, and you set it on a table, you keep that table, say, at about 48 inches. Then as you point the flashlight out, and you do this in a darkened room, and you use something like talcum powder, and you throw it up in the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start recording what the effect is going to be. And you come back, and if the room is not having any air exchange and it keeps pretty well still, you can go back into that room 30 minutes later, and though a large part of the heavier particles have settled, you're still going to find fine particulate matter in the atmosphere. So if that can work on a small scale experiment, how well could you do that on an atmosphere?
I know.
I mean, I haven't had anyone disprove to us that the Earth is not in a dust cloud. How would you know?
Yeah, being made worse by what appears to be some type of atmospheric manipulation by the powers that be, man.
Yeah. And, you know, here's what I take on this. I don't need NASA's confirmation. You know, the point is that, folks, there are many different space agencies on planet Earth, and they're not ruled and dictated by NASA nor the United States. They are independent, self-sovereign entities within their nations. And so don't be thinking that because what we're seeing above our heads is not directly controlled by NASA.
Again, you know, there's a lot of deception afoot as well, and we have to be careful and have our heads up every day. I agree with it, and agree with you on that, Wayne. So,
how far do you think the Chinese are, Steve?
They're catching up fast. They actually have their probe on the moon right now.
I think they've caught ahead of us. Let
well,
me tell you,
they've got an active manned space program. We don't.
That's my point. Ladies and gentlemen, if the biggest travesty that came out of the previous administration is when they gutted NASA.
Well, you know what? What if the reason that they gutted NASA was because they didn't feel like they needed it because they had the secret space program?
Well, and that has been around, as we know, since back before the 60s.
Yeah, right after JFK was shot.
Exactly. So my point to this is, folks, The United States, in our advancement in space travel, are behind the Chinese. The Chinese are kicking our butt, Steve. And that is what the American public don't realize. And the other thing is, Vladimir Putin isn't going to be letting on in all of their secrets either. There is a space race that has never stopped. And when the United States, through the previous administration, determined that there was no more need for any space exploration, it gave the green light for these other countries. And Steve,
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't know
be the
where they
devil's
are.
advocate on this. I think what happened, Wayne, I think what happened was, honestly, I do believe this. I believe that our space program is a breakaway civilization, and it's so advanced that it makes everything that the Russians and the Chinese and anybody else are doing look ridiculous. And it's scaring me because it's like they have more scope, reach, knowledge, understanding, computing power, all that stuff than the normal civilians have access to. I'm very convinced in that analysis. I really am.
And we cannot, and I agree with you on that, because, you know, there's one name that every time I hear about the secret space program, you know who that is? Bigelow. And what most people here in the United States is that when you report UFOs, guess where it goes to? It goes right to the Bigelow Industries. They're the ones that are now responsible for catalyzing and tracking. And if I see a skinwalker come in, I'll let you know. A lot of people don't like talking about it, and they don't like being mentioned.
What is a skinwalker again?
Skinwalkers? Let's just say they're the masters. They're the ones that I believe they exist. Stephen Quell did a great book on them. He's actually, I think, as I listened to him this weekend, has actually got a screenplay going. If you don't know what the Skinwalkers are, and it actually goes back to Skinwalker Ranch right outside Las Vegas. Not a place I would advise anyone to go to. In fact, I'm a little nervous even talking about it now. But yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I would